You're a relic, Marla, Chad grinned, leaning back in his Herman Miller chair like he'd just dropped the mic at a frat roast. We're modernizing the brand. Gotta keep things fresh, no offense. Silence hit the Zoom room like a sack of moldy potatoes. Then came the polite chuckles, mostly from the C-suite. Marla clocked each face. Denise, the CFO, half laugh, half wince. Larry from strategy, full teeth, the bastard. Even Shelley from HR did the awkward cough-giggle combo like she was choking on a sugar-free lozenge of complicity. Marla smiled, too, tight, measured. The same smile she wore when a client made an inappropriate joke during a pitch meeting or when her ex-husband claimed the dog preferred him. Behind the screen, her knuckles whitened on her coffee mug, the one with Executive Whisperer printed in gold foil. Gag gift from a client she helped place in a Fortune 100. A client Chad would sell to a chatbot if it helped him score a bonus. He wasn't even trying to be subtle. That's what stung the most. At 52, Marla had 20 years of trench work in the recruitment game, C-level deals inked over sushi at Nabu, back-channel calls during boardroom purges, even a midnight flight to Denver once to salvage a CEO placement that was about to detonate. Now, a boy with tight pants and looser ethics was out here calling her a fossil in front of the people she'd built this place with. You know what else stings? Knowing 97% of the people hearing this kind of story, yeah, you never hit the subscribe button. Do us a favor and change that. It's like a tiny you got this, Marla, every time someone on the team sees it. It keeps the wine cold and the revenge hot. Back to our regularly scheduled humiliation. The rest of the meeting was just noise. Revenue updates, pipeline projections. Marla's slide on client retention metrics was skipped entirely. Chad breezed into his portion with a Canva deck so loud it probably came with a ring light. New partnerships, he said. Younger demographics, fresh energy. He used the word synergy like it owed him money. The kicker? He dropped a name, Lyric Point. A fintech darling blowing up on LinkedIn. That he'd cracked the code on their HR matrix and landed a verbal for an exclusive contract. Mid-seven figures, folks, Chad said, eyes glinting like he just won a scratch-off. This one's gonna replace half our legacy roster. Marla blinked. Lyric Point, her client. 5 years ago, she'd cold-called the founder while sipping boxed wine in her living room after a long day. She'd navigated their Series B hiring sprint, weathered their PR scandal over crypto ethics, even sent a condolence bouquet when their CTO's dog died. The coup, Brian, still texted her Christmas memes. Now it was being pitched as Chad's trophy win. She didn't say a word, didn't flinch. Just opened a blank doc titled Contingency Plan and wrote the date. Then she minimized Zoom, took a long sip of cold coffee, and opened LinkedIn. Some people cry when they're humiliated. Marla documents. She audits, she watches, and she doesn't forget. The email came in on a Wednesday, subject line, Internal Client Portfolio Optimization. Marla clicked it with the same instinct you'd click a stove burner that smells like gas, knowing it'd be bad, but still needing to confirm the damage. It was one of those jargon-bloated walls of text from Chad, copy-pasted straight from a McKinsey deck he probably didn't understand. Vertical realignment, core value recalibration, next-gen client elasticity. It read like someone fed ChatGPT a monster and it threw up on her inbox. But one sentence stood out like a slap to the face. Effective immediately, Lyric Point will be serviced by the Growth Initiatives team under Chad's direct oversight. No call, no heads up, no ask, just a quiet corporate mugging in daylight. She stared at the screen for a full minute, heard a low thud behind her ribs. Her office suddenly dead quiet despite the soft jazz playing from her Bose speaker. It wasn't just a reassignment. It was the reassignment. Lyric Point wasn't a client, it was a legacy, her white whale turned golden goose. And now it was being gift-wrapped to the boy wonder with hair gel and sociopathy in equal measure. She didn't respond right away. She didn't let the emotion show, either. That's the thing about women like Marla, you push them toward the ledge. They start measuring wind speed, not screaming. Later that afternoon, she strolled into Chad's office like nothing had happened. He was sipping an energy drink with a name like Reactor or Death Panther and trying to look busy scrolling Slack threads like they were stock tickers. He glanced up, smug already baked in. Hey, just wanted to say congrats on Lyric Point, she said, sweet like arsenic tea. They're a complex account. Happy to walk you through the key contacts. Unless you prefer to go in fresh? Oh, thanks, Marla, he said, caught off guard. Yeah, I think we've got it. But if I need anything, I'll ping you. Of course, she smiled, just trying to make the transition smooth. She turned and walked out before his ego had time to mansplain CRM synergy at her. What she didn't mention? Her calendar still had a standing weekly call with Brian, Lyric Point COO. It wasn't even marked private. It was just there. Every Thursday at 9 a.m., right between her second cup of coffee and her third reason not to quit on the spot. She didn't cancel the meeting. She didn't even bring it up. Instead, she opened her filing cabinet that night and started printing. Contracts, onboarding briefs, email chains, anything that showed her fingerprints all over the Lyric Point relationship. She wasn't going to wave them around. She wasn't stupid. But if anyone ever wondered whose baby that account really was, she'd have the receipts laminated and alphabetized. The next few days felt like moving through fog. Chad strutted around like he'd invented recruitment. Leadership parroted buzzwords in meetings, oblivious or willfully blind. Marla kept quiet, sipping lukewarm coffee and watching the walls rearrange themselves around her. On Thursday, 9 a.m. sharp, Ryan picked up their video call from a sunny corner office. Marla, he grinned, tie-crooked dog barking faintly in the background. Don't tell me you're calling to pass me off to some intern with a fake Rolex and a quota fetish. She laughed, light but with that edge only 20 years of practice can forge. Not today, she said, just checking in like always. They talked about hiring freezes, new regulations, how his daughter just got into Northwestern. Nothing official, nothing binding. But when he said, you let me know if things ever shift, she felt something click, something seismic. She ended the call and sat in her office alone, fluorescent lights buzzing like hornets above. Somewhere outside, Chad was probably taking credit for her groundwork while mispronouncing the client's CFO's name. But Marla wasn't angry. Not anymore. She was studying the chessboard and realizing she still had most of the queens. The invite went out at 9:12 a.m. on a Friday, wrapped in gold borders like a wedding announcement and stamped with the subject line, Annual Executive Leadership Retreat RSVP required. Marla's inbox didn't ding. She saw the buzz on Slack first. Shelley from HR posted a dancing gif with the caption, Cabo, here we come, Party Tropical # Retreat Crew Cabo. Marla blinked at the screen like it had slapped her. Cabo was the firm's crown jewel retreat. Every year since 2010, she'd flown down with the team, clinked overpriced cocktails, and made deals in infinity pools while pretending to care about trust falls and corporate yoga. She'd roomed with the CFO one year and watched her puke a $90 mojito into a seashell planter. She'd once landed a COO placement while sipping tequila and applying SPF 50 under a palm tree. And now, nada. No invite, no whoops, must have missed you. Not even a BCC pity inclusion. She waited, assuming maybe it was staggered. By noon, it wasn't staggered, it was targeted. At 1:17 p.m., she walked calmly into HR. The director, Claire, mid-30s, always wore linen like she lived on a yacht, looked up from a stack of folders. Oh, Marla, hey. Just checking on the Cabo retreat, Marla said, polite as ever. Did the list go out? Claire gave her a look. The kind people give before delivering a line their spine won't support. Yeah, it did. We had to tighten the guest list this year. Budget and space constraints. Marla's brow barely twitched, I see. And the growth initiatives team made the cut? Claire coughed. Well, yes, they've been key to some of our expansion plays this quarter. Translation, Chad's frat bros get mojitos. Marla gets a yogurt from the break room and a polite shove off the cliff. Got it, she said. Thanks for clarifying. Back in her office, Marla closed the door, not slammed, closed. Her heart didn't race, her palms didn't sweat. She'd been overlooked before, hell, she built her career on being underestimated. But this was strategic, and now so was she. That night, she stayed late, not burning with anger, but powered by something quieter, something colder. She opened her email archive, found the original Lyric Point contract she'd drafted with Brian back in 2019, and printed it. Next came onboarding documents for other top clients she'd wrangled over the years, Cross-Hex, Ventricore, Heliopath. All accounts Chad now strutted through like a peacock with someone else's feathers. Each document got its own folder. Labeled, dated. Then she combed through her inbox for moments no one else remembered. That time she flew to Phoenix last minute to patch a boardroom implosion. The time she rewrote a botched employment offer at midnight to salvage a VP hire. The screenshots, the drafts, the wins, she didn't need revenge fantasies. She needed records. This wasn't petty. This was preservation. And it wasn't just paperwork, she was also watching people. In meetings, she clocked every sideways glance when her metrics were mentioned but not celebrated. She saw how Chad began speaking over her, how leadership started parroting his buzzwords like parrots on Red Bull. She noticed how her updates were shifted later in the agenda, after attention spans had already left the room. Even her desk felt colder, like the building was already erasing her. Fine, let them. They didn't know it, but they were giving her a gift, freedom to act, to build, to document without suspicion. They thought they were phasing her out, but really, they were handing her the perfect alibi. She put the folders into a drawer labeled Legacy Accounts, locked it, and tucked the key into her blazer. Then she turned off her monitor, smoothed her skirt, and walked past the glassy-eyed interns who'd be vomiting mojitos in Cabo soon enough. Marla didn't need their retreat. She was building her own island. They met at an unremarkable bistro tucked between a vape shop and a psychic reading place that doubled as a tax prep center in the off-season. One of those places where the bread's cold, but the waitress calls you Han like she means it. Neutral turf. Forgettable. Exactly what she wanted. Brian slid into the booth across from her, jacket slung across the vinyl seat, eyes bloodshot in that tech exec on the verge way. He looked like a man allergic to rest and recently betrayed by kombucha. Jesus, Marla, he said, grinning like he'd found the only sane person left in the simulation. It's good to see you. They didn't hug. They weren't huggers. Too many NDA-laced years for that, but they settled in like two old warriors swapping stories at the edge of the battlefield, and for 20 minutes it was just catch-up. His daughter made varsity soccer. Her dog needed dental work. He'd started taking magnesium because his wife follows a TikTok doctor with a PhD in vibes. But eventually the pleasantries thinned and reality stepped in, wearing a crooked tie and holding an invoice. So he said, stabbing his Caesar salad like it owed him money, this Chad kid. Marla didn't blink. He's something. Keeps sending us templated candidate decks like we're a Saw S shop with interns to spare. One guy had alpha leadership listed as a soft skill. Marla snorted into her club soda. He tried to walk our CTO through compensation strategy. Brian continued, lowering his voice, like we hadn't taught him what a signing bonus is. It's messy, sloppy, no follow-through. We're seeing echoes of desperation in the way he talks contracts. Feels like someone told him to land and expand, but forgot to explain what relationships are. Marla shrugged like it wasn't personal, though every cell in her body was lighting up with vindication. Not rage, not even satisfaction, just confirmation. You know what this place needs? Brian said, chewing slowly. A boutique team. No fluff. People who know how to whisper to a board and wrestle a VP offer into compliance without triggering 3 lawsuits. He didn't look up when he said it, just sipped his iced tea like he hadn't just handed her a loaded weapon. Hypothetically, she said, voice calm as a Sunday hangover, what would it take for you to back a firm like that? One that doesn't worship buzzwords or inflate fees to afford beanbags and kombucha taps? Brian tilted his head, smiled. Hypothetically, you'd start with me, and I'd tell 3 others before dessert. She didn't breathe, not visibly. Instead, she reached for her napkin and a pen from her purse, the one with a cracked cap and her initials rubbed off. Old habits. She scribbled a number. Retainer? He asked, eyebrow raised. Baseline, she said. He nodded, slipped the napkin into his coat pocket like it was a business card from a backroom poker game. They didn't make any promises. They didn't shake on it. He didn't say yes. But as they stood to leave, he looked at her like a man who already knew how the story ended. Me posted, Marla. She smiled. A real one this time, no performance. No office lighting or spreadsheet staring back at her. Just the slow, satisfying hum of something beginning to turn. When she stepped back into the street, the wind whipped her hair into her face, but she didn't care. She crossed against traffic, dodged a delivery van, and walked 3 blocks without looking back. In her coat pocket, 1 napkin, 1 future. And maybe, finally, 1 way out. It was one of those office toasts that reeked of forced celebration and cheap champagne poured into borrowed joy. They gathered in the main conference room, rebranded now as the Victory Lounge, complete with LED uplighting and a playlist that screamed entrepreneurial seizure. Chad stood front and center, wearing a blazer too tight for someone with that much hubris, holding a flute of sparkling mediocrity. Behind him, the slide deck glowed with corporate masturbation. Q3 triumphs, disrupting legacy, embracing velocity. Marla took her usual spot near the back, next to the faux ficus plant that hadn't seen water since Obama's first term. She held a paper plate of stale shrimp cocktail and smiled like a woman 2 inches from snapping a neck with a well-aimed heel. Chad raised his glass like he was about to free a country. Team, he chirped, high on the fumes of his own bullshit. When I joined this firm, we had a vision problem. We were burdened by, well, let's call it what it was, legacy baggage. Laughter. Light, tentative, mostly from his new hires and Denise from finance, who would laugh if you told her the office was on fire. But look at us now, he beamed. We've modernized, streamlined, rebranded. And I'm thrilled to announce, drumroll please, that Lyric Point has just committed to an 8-figure engagement for next quarter. 8 figures. The room erupted into claps and hollers like someone had just proposed to a Kardashian. Chad winked, actually winked. Fresh revenue from a fresh approach, folks. This is the new frontier. Marla clapped too, 1-2, light, hollow. She smiled with just enough teeth to pass for engaged. No one noticed the tiny twitch in her left hand, when wrapped around her phone beneath the table. By the time Chad finished his monologue, something about synergistic momentum, Marla had already booked a table for one at her favorite quiet bar. The kind with deep booths, burnt orange lighting, and bartenders who don't ask why your hands are shaking. She left before the cake. At 9:43 p.m., she was home with a glass of red and her laptop open. The glow lit her face as she typed with surgical calm. Name of entity, Marla & Co. Type, professional limited liability company services offered. Executive placement, board-level recruitment, strategic talent advisory operating address. Temporarily her condo until the downtown office space she toured last week became hers. Client interest, pre-qualified, pre-motivated, pre-stolen. She double-checked the paperwork, triple-checked, entered her card, hit submit. Confirmation email dinged like a gunshot in a church. She sat back and stared at the screen. This wasn't revenge, it was reclamation. They thought they were phasing her out, burying her under buzzwords and birthday cupcakes. But all they'd done was clear the field. She wasn't legacy baggage. She was a loaded freight train. And Chad, he was a child playing with matches in a fireworks factory. Her rebellion wouldn't be loud. It wouldn't be messy. It would be surgical, precise, and eventually public. She closed her laptop, finished her wine, and turned off the lights. In her kitchen drawer, she dropped her old company badge. Next to it, a new one was coming. It would say founder. The first sign was the silence. Not the comforting kind you get when the office printer finally shuts up, but the cold, sticky kind that creeps in when something vital's gone missing and nobody wants to name it. It started with Heliopath, their account manager. Wide-eyed MBA who thought grit meant skipping oat milk, posted in Slack. Anyone got a read on Helio? They haven't returned our last 2 candidate decks. Then VentureCore, client pushed back our onboarding call again. Said they're reevaluating engagement parameters. WTF does that mean? By Wednesday, the panic got bold. One of Chad's cronies dropped this nuclear gem. They say we're unethical? No one responded. In the fishbowl meeting rooms, could see the tension bloom, shoulders tighter, tones clipped. Chad started calling meetings twice a day, pacing like a dog that knew the leash was coming. His team wore their anxiety like deodorant that had stopped working. Marla, she sat at her desk, sipping lukewarm coffee that tasted like recycled cardboard and dignity. Every few hours, she scrolled Slack, eyes dancing over the unraveling with the soft calm of a woman watching a casserole burn she never agreed to make. Didn't gloat, she didn't smirk, she just watched. Then, quietly, precisely, she opened her calendar and made 5 calls. One by one, no pitch, no pressure, no hints, just hey, it's Marla, wanted to check in. How are things feeling on your end? She called Heliopath's VP first. He sighed before he spoke. Marla, man, it's good to hear your voice. Honestly, it's been weird, communication's off. Feels like we're being upsold on things we didn't ask for. Keep getting ghosted after they chase us. She nodded, letting the silence stretch. I get it, she said, just checking in, I'm still around, for now. Helio's VP hesitated, then said, keep me posted, yeah? VentureCore's contact was next. A woman Marla once helped prep for maternity leave with a last-minute interim hire. She sounded tired. They don't listen, Marla. It's like they think we're a number on a dashboard. Everything's a win before it's a relationship. It's getting old. Marla sipped her coffee. I hear that. Are you planning something? Marla smiled into the receiver. Just staying curious. Got it. Well, we'll be in touch. Call 3, call 4, call 5, same rhythm. Different voices, all ending the same way. We'll be in touch. And they would be. Not because she begged, not because she burned bridges, but because she never left them behind. While Chad chased funnels and forgot names, Marla had remembered birthdays, tended funerals, sent soup when someone's mother got sick. She wasn't building a business. She was watering a garden he didn't know existed. That night, Chad sent a company-wide email. Let's tighten up on follow-through. Perception is currency. We've got this, team. Marla didn't respond. She bookmarked it, like a tombstone. Marla chose Monday. Not because it was symbolic, but because Mondays are when people expect you to be tired, compliant, too numbed by weekend whiplash to cause any ripples. Perfect cover. She dressed sharp, not flashy. Navy blazer, soft silk blouse, lipstick a half shade bolder than usual. Her heels clicked through the glass-paneled corridors like punctuation marks. Not a march, not a strut, a finale. At 8:57 a.m., she stepped into HR with a manila envelope that might as well have been a scalpel. Claire, still pretending to be surprised by everything from printer jams to corporate rot, looked up mid-coffee sip. Oh, Marla, hi, did we have something scheduled? No, Marla said, setting the envelope down gently like it might bite. Just closing a loop. Claire blinked. Is this my formal resignation, effective immediately? Claire's mouth did the awkward fish thing. But we didn't wait, no notice, Marla smiled. Exactly 20 years to the day. I thought symmetry mattered. She turned before the HR haze could gather its storm, heels already echoing down the hallway. No drama, no scene, just a clean, irreversible exit. Back at her desk, she logged in one final time. Opened Outlook. She had 2 versions of the email ready, one for leadership, one for legacy. To the CEO, a polished paragraph, formal but calm. Dear Mark, I'm grateful for the years of trust and opportunity. As of today, I am stepping away to pursue new endeavors. I wish the firm success in the evolving marketplace. Warm regards, Marla D. Emerson. But the second email? That one was poetry. No header, no logo, no embedded nonsense. Just 14 words. Thank you for remarkable 20 years. The future is already here. Blind copied to 30 clients. 30 people who'd shaken her hand, closed million-dollar deals, cried in backrooms when placements collapsed, toasted victories at off-site retreats, asked for her opinion before their own board. She hit send. The email was airborne before Chad even finished his morning smoothie. By 10:14 a.m., the first call came in. By 10:20, Claire's desk phone rang and didn't stop. Voices she didn't recognize asking, is it true? Marla left, then came the harder questions. Who's managing our account now? Followed by the deadliest of all. What happened to her? Marla's phone buzzed as she stepped into the elevator. Not Slack, not email, texts. Brian from Lyric Point saw the message. Balsy, coffee this week? Sasha from VentureCore, you're building something, aren't you? I want in. Even old school Hal from Cross Hex, I never trusted that kid Chad. You're a class act, Marla. She didn't reply yet. She didn't need to. By the time the elevator hit the lobby, her autoresponder was active. Thank you for remarkable 20 years. The future is already here. She stepped into the sunlight. The wind was sharp but honest. The kind that cuts but clears. She didn't look back. There was nothing left worth seeing. The Lyric Point press release dropped at 7:03 a.m. on a Wednesday. No warning, no whispers. Just a clean, brutal paragraph posted to their corporate page and quietly blasted to media contacts who'd been waiting for blood in the water. Effective immediately. Lyric Point is terminating all contractual agreements with Albridge Executive Search due to ethical misrepresentation and failure to meet standards of professional conduct. No names, no elaboration, just a bullet to the spine. At 7:05, Albridge's leadership group chat, cleverly titled Eagle's Nest Eagle, went thermonuclear. The CEO typed WTF is this in all caps while Denise from finance asked if it was a prank. Chad hadn't even read it yet. He was still in bed, drooling on his pillow, probably dreaming of TikTok metrics and artisanal protein powders. By 8 o'clock, the full team had been pulled into a mandatory all-hands emergency Zoom. Most people joined still in pajamas, blinking like dazed animals. Chad wore a hoodie and the hollow confidence of a man who'd never read a contract he hadn't scanned for keywords. This is a misunderstanding, he insisted, voice cracking over spotty Wi-Fi. They've been a little unpredictable lately, but we're handling it. I'm reaching out personally. Then Sasha from VentureCore froze the call like an icicle through the jugular. Her email hit the shared inbox before Chad finished his sentence. Pending internal audit, VentureCore is pausing all new executive placements with Albridge. Do not contact us further until legal reviews are completed. By 8:47, Heliopath's email arrived, all interviews canceled. Hold further communications, then cross-hex, then Hartwell bio, then the little ones, startups, nonprofits, legacy accounts that only Marla had managed without ever writing a single Slack playbook. Someone in the strategy pod shouted through a glass door, who the hell was managing these relationships? Nobody answered, because they all knew. At 9:20, Chad was yanked into a C-suite war room meeting. Security footage would later show him pacing, palms open, sweat blooming under his arms like guilt through a silk shirt. By 10:05, the HR director updated the internal risk dashboard. Current exposure, $8.3 million in active contracts lost or on hold. Projected Q4 impact, catastrophic. At 10:12, someone anonymously posted a new review on Glassdoor. This place replaced its backbone with a frat house. Now it's collapsing in real time. Former executive, 20-plus years meanwhile, in a sunlit kitchen with olive green cabinets and a 12-year-old terrier snoring under the table, Marla sipped Cabernet from a chipped mug and watched the fallout unfold on her iPad. She didn't smile, not really. She exhaled, long, slow, like a woman who'd held her breath for a decade and finally got to taste oxygen again. Her phone buzzed. Brian, let me know when you're ready to scale. Lyric Point's board wants a long-term solution. She muted it and poured another glass. She scrolled Glassdoor again. The firm's rating had dropped from 4.6 to 2.3 in less than 24 hours. The headlines were poetic. Leadership has no integrity. Chad is a PowerPoint with a pulse. They lost the only person who kept us honest. The sun hit the window just right, casting light across the contract folders she'd organized weeks ago, neat, dated, tagged like a funeral guest list for every account they'd squandered. She clicked the TV remote and queued up some Sinatra, not because she was gloating, because she was free. 3 months later, Marla sat by the window of a coworking space that smelled like eucalyptus and ambition. No beige cubicles, no motivational posters, no Chad, just white oak desks, the soft clink of ceramic mugs, and the low hum of real people building real things. She was sipping black coffee, good coffee this time, not the bean-flavored swamp they used to brew back at Albridge, while reviewing a short list of C-suite candidates for VentureCore's global expansion. Her inbox was a different world now. Clean, direct. Every subject line a familiar name, a warm introduction, a continuation, not a cold start. Lyric Point had signed a 3-year retainer last month. They didn't even blink at the number she gave them, said it was overdue. The COO personally sent a welcome gift, a fountain pen in a mahogany box with a handwritten note. Thanks for building the future the old way. Heliopath followed a week later, then Hartwell Bio. And just last Friday, a nonprofit she'd once helped staff during a merger mess called her, after a year of silence, and said, "We heard you're back, can we talk?" Marla didn't advertise, she didn't need to. Word traveled faster when it came from people who trusted you. Her website was one page, no frills, just a photo of a closed notebook and 5 words under the logo, built on loyalty, run by experience. She hired one associate, Sam, a whip-smart placement strategist who used to sit 2 cubicles away at Albridge and once cried in the stairwell when Chad told her she lacked executive energy. Now Sam ran point on half the pipeline and called Marla her second chance. There were others, too, reaching out quietly, testing the waters, like the email she opened that morning. Subject, quick catch-up, from Jamie S. Jamie had been Chad's right hand. Wore confidence like cologne and used to smirk during Marla's presentations like he knew something she didn't. Now his message was short, polite, nervous in all the right ways. Hey Marla, I hope you're well. I heard what you've built and I've been reevaluating some things. I'd love to chat if you're open to it. No expectations, just respect. She didn't reply right away. Instead, she looked out the window. Downtown shimmered below, full of noise she no longer owed anything to. She was never the loudest in the room, never the one giving champagne toasts or pushing hashtags, but she'd been listening, watching, documenting, and when the house started to burn, she didn't run for water. She built her own, brick by brick, name by name, relationship by relationship. Turns out being irreplaceable just takes patience. And receipts. Appreciate you sticking around, you legends of the break room. Subscribe for more chaos. Let's make your old managers spill their coffee in fear.